Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Planetarium live stream. Hope you're all having a wonderful Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in a day late. How about those Kansas Jayhawks? Very exciting win last night, and that's why we postponed till tonight. So hopefully we'll have a few people tuning in today. And if you are joining us, then welcome. And if you're here for the first time, or if you're not here for the first time, I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Patrick Hess. I'm the Planetarium Manager at Union Station. And today I'll be presenting a little tour of our spring night skies. We'll be looking at what's up this season. And we'll also be going over the past month of space news, astronomy updates, and space exploration excitement, everything that happened over the past month. Once again, a big thank you to our supporting sponsor, MRI Global, for keeping these live streams going and supporting many of the other programs at Union Station and Science City. And thank you to all of our longtime watchers who are returning and watching for our 81st live stream. We've been doing these now for 2 years. In fact, this is actually an exciting milestone. This is our second anniversary. So we've been doing these for 2 entire years, and we've reached over 316,000 viewers. I'll just go a little inside baseball here, but here's a little teaser of what our viewership has looked like. We started out doing them 3 days a week during the beginning of the pandemic, and then switched to weekly streams in 2020. And since last year, we've been doing them every month. So thank you all so much for supporting us and getting us to that crazy milestone, 2 years. And our plan is to continue these streams for the foreseeable future. Now, if you're a first-time watcher, welcome. We're excited to have you here. And don't feel left out, because you can find all of the recordings of our past live streams, all 80 other streams that we've ever done, all back on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/kcplanetarium. Be sure to subscribe to us over there while you're on YouTube. And you can check out all of our past streams, all of our deep dive streams. At the beginning, for the first year, if we did these live streams, we did deep dives, hour-long dives into a bunch of different topics in astronomy. So many different topics. We did different star cultures from around the world, Africa and China and Native Americans. We've talked about how Harry Potter connects to astronomy. And of course, I've done a lot of science streams about different planets and comets. And we talked about telescopes and the science and astronomy in the movies and TV. So youtube.com/kcplanetarium. Head over there and check out all of our past streams. Now, this is a live stream. We are coming to you live on Tuesday, April 5th at 6 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Hopefully that daylight savings time will stay. I don't know if you all heard that we may be staying in daylight savings time sometime soon. That'll be exciting. But since this is a live stream, let us know that you're watching in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. It's always exciting to see where everybody's tuning in. We've already got some people in the comments section. One of our top fans, Tammy, is already chiming in saying hello from Iowa. Tammy, thanks so much for tuning in for our 81st stream. Can you believe we've been doing these for 2 years? And Tammy is one of our biggest fans, who I actually got to meet when they came to the planetarium a few months ago. We've also got Becky saying hello from Harrisonville, Missouri. Thanks for watching, Becky. And Anthony is chiming in from Independence. Thanks for watching, Anthony, and thanks to everyone else who's watching. Now, if you have any questions throughout tonight's stream, be sure to pop those in the comment section, and I will try to answer those. The planetarium at Union Station is open to the public right now. We're open 6 days a week, Tuesday through Sunday, and our schedule is available online at planetarium.unionstation.org. We just had our April laser shows. Those were on Saturday, where we did a Lazed and Confused month with some pretty trippy laser shows like Sublime and Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. And we will be announcing our full lineup for May pretty soon. But just as a little teaser, the theme for next month is going to be the Y2K. We're going to be looking at music all around the late 90s and early 2000s with a special brand new mixtape. So stay tuned. Hopefully by the end of this week, we'll have the full lineup for that available for you. But that is our upcoming May laser show theme. Very exciting. And those are the first Saturdays of the month. We'll have different themes throughout the year. And that'll be very exciting. We had sold out shows every night on Saturday, or for almost every show on Saturday, which was really crazy. Got a couple other people chiming in. Rachel saying happy 2nd anniversary. Thanks, Rachel. I'm glad you're here watching with us. And it's crazy to think that we've been doing this for 2 years. Kylie saying that they're a first timer watching with my son Riker, who's 7 from Oklahoma. Well, Kylie and Riker, thanks so much for watching. And Riker, I want you to think of a good astronomy question for me and ask it sometime tonight, because I'd love to hear from you. And maybe I'll start by asking you a question. Riker, what is your favorite planet? Let me know. We've got RY watching from Kansas. Thanks for watching, RY. I hope you enjoyed tonight's stream. And don't forget, Kylie, by the way, the first timer. Like I said, in case you missed it, all of our past live streams are on our YouTube channel. I've put those into playlists for you as well to make it easier to watch. So if Riker's interested in space and want to see some of our past shows, like our deep dives into the solar system, for example, then he should definitely check that out at youtube.com/KCPlanetarium. But without further ado, keep the comments coming, everybody. But we are going to jump into tonight's star tour. We're going to take a little look at what's going to be up in our April night sky. And as always, we start here in Kansas City and our Kansas City skyline in front of Union Station at the steps of the Liberty Memorial right there to the south. And the sun is setting, although it's a little bit higher in the sky. For the past few months, it's been already set when the live stream started. So it's exciting that as the days get longer, the sun is higher in the sky during the start of our live streams. But although the sun is a star, it's not the star we're interested in right now. So we are going to fast forward time and get rid of that sun. The sunset tonight will be around 8 o'clock, although we usually wait about an hour after sunset, which will be when twilight is gone and all the stars come out. So we'll go to about 9 p.m. And there is our April skies. A lot of stars up there. And we are going to start out by taking a look actually over in our western sky, because although the weather's not my favorite, the skies are my favorite in the wintertime. And we are now going to be watching a few winter constellations setting as spring is here and summer approaches. We are going to check out a few things that are going to be dropping out of sight here pretty soon. Now, although the Liberty Memorial is beautiful, it does take up quite a bit of our field of view. So I am going to move our view a little bit further away. We'll go to a flower field. You can imagine these are sunflowers for all of our Kansas people out there. So again, we're facing west right now, and we're going to look at what is setting this season. First of all, you will see the moon tonight. The moon is right now in a waxing crescent phase. Waxing means that it's currently getting bigger and brighter, and crescent means that just a sliver of it is visible right now. And the moon tonight will be right next to a bright V pattern that you'll see in the stars. And this V belongs to Taurus the bull. So that V is the bull's head. His horns go up to these 2 stars, and then his neck is down here with his front legs. And we should be able to turn Taurus on there. Oop. Wrong one. Let's see. V. That's what I wanted. Taurus the bull. Now, Taurus the bull is present in a couple different mythological traditions. To the ancient Mesopotamians, this was a bull monster that their hero Gilgamesh fought and defeated. As for the Greeks, they saw this bull as representing Zeus, the king of their gods. Zeus had this bad habit of disguising himself as animals and coming down to Earth to kind of mess around with mortals. And he disguised himself as a bull when he came down to Earth to kidnap a princess named Europa. Now, the cool thing about Taurus, in my opinion, is that on Taurus's back is a deep space object. And some people call it the Seven Sisters because it's a little star cluster that some people can see 6 or 7 stars there with the naked eye. And using our virtual planetarium, Stellarium, this is software you can download at home, by the way, we're going to zoom in and see that this is a cluster of about 2,000 stars that are all bound together by gravity. This is what's called an open star cluster. It's a relatively young star cluster, so these stars are all siblings. They're all born together from the same nebula and relatively recently. And we can see the leftovers of that nebula reflecting their light as these little wispy tendrils of blue light. We'll talk a little bit more about stellar evolution in a minute. Although I did do a live stream all about stellar evolution. That was way back in 2020, almost 2 years ago. Wow. And that... yeah, it was in April of 2020, and we can post a link to that on the comments section if you want to watch that. There we go. Again, we'll talk a little bit about stellar evolution, but we have taken deep dives into that into the past. But for now, we can just look at the Pleiades cluster. This is a fun object that is pretty visible with the naked eye, but even more so through binoculars. Binoculars are actually really great astronomy tools, so if you want to learn more, or if you want to start on astronomy without buying an entire telescope, then I would recommend starting with some binoculars. If you are interested in telescopes, though, we did also do another live stream all about telescopes, and we can post a link to that in the comments section as well. So we're going to zoom back out here to our western horizon, and we're going to move over to the southwest, where we'll see Orion the Hunter. Before I talk about Orion, though, we're getting a couple more comments in the comments section. So we're going to check in, and it looks like Riker says that Mars is his favorite because the color of Mars is the coolest. Well, Riker, that's so awesome. Mars is an awesome planet. It's one of my absolute favorites as well, mostly because it's probably the planet that we are going to visit next after Earth. And you know what, Riker? We did a whole show about Mars back in 2020, and we can post a link to that as well. And we talked about Mars in a couple different ways, actually. We talked about Mars rovers on other live streams, and we also did a whole live stream all about the Perseverance Mars rover. So if you want to learn more about Mars, we do definitely have shows for you. And I'm gonna stop plugging our past live streams and let us catch up a little bit to posting those in the comments. But for now, let's check in. Becky is chiming in with their favorite solar system object. Becky says that they like Pluto. Becky may be trying to fish for a Pluto-related plug. Pluto, unfortunately, is not a planet, and you're not going to get me to change my mind. We did a whole live stream all about Pluto, actually, which we won't post a link to, but you can go to youtube.com/KCPlanetarium to watch that. And Becky, if you have a soft spot in your heart for Pluto, then maybe you can learn a little more about it, and maybe learn why it is unfortunately not a planet. But it is still very cool. And Laura says hello from St. Louis. Thanks for watching, Laura. Laura says my two boys, ages 7 and 4, are watching for the first time. Laura, that's so awesome. And tell the boys hi for me, and let them know if they have any questions. They should definitely chime in. And if this is your first time, then don't forget all of our past streams are on our YouTube channel. All right, so back to our star tour. Let's talk about Orion the Hunter. You can see Orion's famous belt, these 3 stars, outlined by these 4 other bright stars. Altogether, Orion is the brightest constellation, so it's no wonder it's so visible. So that's Orion's belt. His feet are down here. His shoulders are up here. And this little cluster of stars is Orion's head. And then you can imagine him holding a shield in one hand and lifting a club in the other. So there is Orion. Now, in Greek mythology, Orion was a famous hunter. But he liked to brag about himself. One day, Orion bragged that he was such a good hunter, he could capture every animal on Earth if he wanted to. Now, when Artemis, the Greek goddess of the hunt, heard this boast, this made her very upset. After all, it was her job to protect the animals on Earth. So as punishment, she sent a giant scorpion monster down from Mount Olympus to battle Orion and teach him a lesson. Now, the scorpion is represented by the constellation Scorpius, or Scorpio, and that's a summer constellation, so we can watch these 2 characters continue to fight and chase each other for all eternity, since the constellations never quite catch up to one another. Orion's a winter constellation, Scorpius is a summer constellation. Now, Orion is very cool because below Orion's belt is a smaller group of 3 dimmer stars. Some people call that his dagger or his sword hilt. In reality, that part of the constellation hides another deep space object, and it's a deep space object I'm going to show you in a little bit more detail, so we're going to load up some other software here. Because this deep space object is about 1,400 light years away, and you will need a decently powerful telescope to see it, but it is very cool. Now, we are going to head over to my Space Engine software, where this is sort of a 3D planetarium, and we are going to see if we can find Orion. Oh, and there's the constellation Orion behind the Earth, and we can see Orion's belt, and then his sword hilt down here. And then what we'll find is a deep space object, called the Orion Nebula. And there it is. And we can fly to it using the power of this virtual planetarium. This is a stellar nursery. So we saw the Pleiades cluster, which is left over from stars being born, but the Orion Nebula contains new stars that are in the process of being born. We can make this a bit brighter as well. There we go. So this is an emission nebula. So it's a nebula that is currently hot enough that it's producing its own light, unlike the Pleiades cluster, which is a reflection nebula, which doesn't make its own light, it just reflects the light nearby. So deep inside this nebula, there are baby stars being born. There are a couple stars at the very center of it called the trapezium. These 4 baby stars right there. We can fly to them, actually. Whee! And these stars are very, very young. They are some of the first stars to be born inside this nebula. And in other places in this nebula, this gas and dust is getting pulled together, forming big spheres of gas. And as these balls of gas grow in size, they may reach a point where they can ignite stellar fusion and become stars. And that's how all stars are born. That's how our sun was born about 5 billion years ago. Now, sometimes there's leftover material that doesn't form stars, but instead forms planets. That's where planets come from. And as we know, sometimes planets may even form life. Now, the cool thing is that these nebulas are actually leftovers from stars that died a long time ago. Stars will die and sometimes explode and spread their elements out into space, leaving behind these nebulas, and that gas and dust eventually coalesces once again to become a new star. So this process of death and rebirth is how all stars are born. And so just to recap, our sun is actually made of elements that were created by another star that died a long time ago. And our Earth is also made of elements that were created by supernova explosions. That also means that you are made of the same elements. The human body is actually created using elements that were forged in the core of ancient stars that died billions of years ago. So, in a very real and scientific sense, we are all made of stardust. And that's why the Orion Nebula is personally my favorite deep space object. So we're going to head back to our 2-dimensional planetarium here, Stellarium, and we're going to continue our spring star tour. In a moment, though, we're going to first check in with the comment section. Elizabeth says that my daughter is interested in being an astronomer. What steps can she take going into high school next year? Great question, Elizabeth. And astronomy involves a lot of physics, so taking a lot of science courses, including physics, would be a great step. And so I would say that would be the thing to do in high school. I'm not sure. There may be some high school programs that even offer astronomy courses, but usually that starts in college. And then looking at colleges, checking to find places that have good physics programs or astronomy programs as well. It's a great step to take. And in terms of stargazing, you could look into getting started with a telescope. Like I mentioned before, we have a live stream with more information about telescopes. But as I also said before, binoculars are great tools for starting astronomy as well. Elizabeth is also saying, so glad you're doing live streams. Hashtag awesomeness. Thanks, Elizabeth. And I hope your daughter continues to explore astronomy. And Cheryl's chiming in as well, saying, so incredible, with a little star emoji. Absolutely. Thanks for watching, Cheryl. Hope you're enjoying tonight's stream. All right, let's get back over to Stellarium, and let's see. Talked about Taurus. So I'm going to jump actually over here to our eastern sky. Let's see what's rising right now. There are a few notable constellations. A little bit higher in the east, you'll find a sort of a backwards question mark shape. This is part of Leo the Lion. And so this is meant to be Leo's head and his mane. Then there's Leo's body. Here's his front paws, and there's his tail. Leo represents the Nemean lion. This was the ferocious beast that Hercules fought and defeated during the first of his 12 labors. That star at the end of Leo's tail, by the way, is named Denebula. Denebula means tail of the lion in Arabic. Then lower in the sky, we have the second brightest star that's up right now. The brightest star, by the way, is near Orion. It's this star here. This is Sirius. That's the first brightest star. But the second brightest is over here. It's a star named Aldebaran. And it's near a little ice cream cone-shaped constellation, or maybe I'm just hungry. This constellation's named Boötes. He was said to be a hunter that was chasing the bears of Ursa Major and Ursa Minor through the night sky. We've talked about those before, but they are represented by the Big and Little Dipper over here. So here's the Big Dipper, and there's a Little Dipper, and Boötes the hunter is chasing the Ursa bears. And that star, the second brightest star in the night sky, is called Arcturus, which means Watcher of the Bear in ancient Greek. And then also rising in the east, I'm going to fast forward just a smidge, is Virgo the Maiden. And she looks like a big stick figure. So here's Virgo's head. Here are her arms. And then her legs kind of go down here. It's a bit of an abstract one. Virgo represents a goddess of fertility or harvest. The Greeks called her Demeter. The Romans called her Ceres. In art and statues, she's often depicted as carrying an ear of grain in one hand. And that star in Virgo's hand is named Spica. And Spica means ear of grain in Latin. Now, I've mentioned 3 bright stars here in the east in the springtime. Those 3 stars there. Now, these 3 stars form a shape called the spring triangle, and this triangle can be seen rising in the early evening this spring. This was a tool that ancient people sometimes used to help them figure out when the seasons were changing. Basically, as you start to see these 3 stars rising one at a time, one after another, you can tell that spring is approaching. And the summer triangle is another shape like this that will be rising a little bit later tonight, and as the evenings go on, as we get closer to summer, it'll rise earlier. Let's see. We've got An who's checking in, asking what's the game or what is that app? So I'm using a couple different pieces of software. This that I'm in right now is called Stellarium. It's a free piece of software you can get on your Mac or PC, and there's similar pieces of software like it for mobile devices too. And the other one I was using is called Space Engine, and that's a paid piece of software that is a 3D universe simulation. We got Angela chiming in from Space Coast saying, "Hi Patrick, it's raining on the Space Coast. Love your videos, great information. Thank you." Thanks so much for watching, Angela. Hope you enjoyed tonight's stream, and I hope you stay dry out there. All right, so I wanted to do a little deep dive into Virgo. Now, Virgo, the constellation, is interesting, but it shares its name with something called the Virgo Galactic Supercluster. Now, to give you a little bit of a sense of scale, actually, let's bring back out Space Engine here. The universe is really big, which is probably the biggest understatement, I'll say, during today's stream. But let's get back over here. So we're back in Space Engine, and we can see the Orion Nebula here, and you can see the background of the Milky Way galaxy there. But if I zoom way out, all the way out to our galaxy, we can see it simulated here in Space Engine. Our galaxy contains about 500 billion stars, and about half of those likely have planets around them. Now, our Milky Way galaxy is part of a smaller group called the Local Group of Galaxies, consisting of a few galaxies nearby that are all kind of close together, grouped together with gravity, and it also includes the Andromeda Galaxy, which is sort of our sister galaxy. Let's go over to Andromeda. Andromeda is a spiral galaxy like the Milky Way. It's about twice as big as the Milky Way, containing over 1 trillion stars, and it's also so close to us that if it were brighter, it would occupy a space about 6 times as wide as the moon in the night sky. Our eyes just aren't good enough to see it. So that's our local galactic group, which contains a couple dozen galaxies. But then our local galactic group is part of a larger group of galaxies called the Virgo Supercluster, which contains hundreds of thousands of galaxies. Now, the Virgo Supercluster, which contains hundreds of thousands of galaxies, is part of an even larger universe, and astronomers have mapped out over 10 million galactic superclusters, other superclusters of galaxies containing hundreds of millions of their own galaxies, which in turn contain billions of their own stars. So our universe is unimaginably gigantic, and there are trillions upon trillions upon trillions of stars, and astronomers think that at least half of those stars likely have planets around them. And so our universe is just unimaginably gigantic. And it's easy to think that somewhere out there, there must be a planet like Earth that's habitable, and perhaps one of those planets even has life on it. So we'll just let ourselves zoom out here. Or we can even zoom back in. What? Anybody feeling Star Warsy? All right. So let's take a brief break here. Remember, everybody, that this is a live stream. I'm Patrick Hess, your planetarium manager at Union Station's Arvin Gottlieb Planetarium. If you've tuned in over the past few minutes, we've just finished our little tour of our spring night skies, and we're going to jump in now to current events. We're going to check in and see what cool stuff has been happening around space and astronomy science over the past month. Remember, this is a live stream, so if you're watching live, let us know in the comments. If you have any questions, chime in there as well. Well, we'll jump into our first story of the day. Let's close this out. And our first story, there we go, is an update on NASA's Space Launch System. And actually, let me check something here, because NASA was doing an announcement just an hour ago. So I want to check in on that. Okay, all right, so I've got the latest news update for you. But over the past few days, NASA has been working on testing out and doing what's called a wet dress rehearsal for its Space Launch System rocket. This rocket is going to carry the Orion capsule, the Orion spacecraft, to the moon for the Artemis missions to the moon. Now, the first Artemis mission, Artemis 1, is scheduled to launch this summer, and they're doing a wet dress rehearsal, which basically means that they wheel the rocket out to the launch pad and basically do everything all the way up to launching, but they don't launch it all the way. So they just held a press conference announcing some delays. So go figure, right? NASA and delays, name a more iconic duo. So they've been doing a couple tests since April 1st, but there have been a couple issues with some fans and cryogenic propellant. And most recently, yesterday, there was an issue with a panel on the mobile launcher that controls the core stage vent valve. So all important stuff. But basically, the latest news, and actually I'll share this here, the latest news is that they are delaying the test until Friday this week to do this wet dress rehearsal. So a couple delays, some rocky start, delaying things about a week, which in the scheme of things isn't that much. But this Friday, hopefully they'll complete that wet dress rehearsal. And the full actual launch is scheduled for no earlier than June of 2022, with, a little bit of flexibility, likely delaying it more. The first, so that full launch, hopefully this summer, will be the maiden flight of the Space Launch System. It'll carry the Artemis 1 mission hardware, as well as some CubeSats, which are little mini satellites, up to a translunar injection trajectory. So basically, we're sending the rocket to the moon just without people on it. And then Artemis 2, which right now is scheduled for 2025, will take humans to the moon. And then they'll land on the moon in like 2026 or 2027. All right, so let's jump into our next story of the day. This story is a little exciting for all you SpaceX haters out there. SpaceX is going to have competition on the moon as NASA seeks a second lunar lander contract. So SpaceX, for a while, has been the only company contracted to design a lander for the Artemis missions. So NASA's just working on the rocket to get to the moon, and then they're contracting with private companies to design landers to land on the moon. And SpaceX was the only one contracted for a while, but NASA just announced plans to develop a second lander for its Artemis mission. So NASA is going to be soliciting proposals from U.S. companies with a target date for delivery within the next 4 to 5 years. They're calling this the Sustaining Lunar Development Project. And this second NASA contract is designed to create a lunar lander that's meant to be a little bit, have some more bells and whistles than SpaceX's, and will hopefully be very useful for future Artemis missions after the first lander. So SpaceX's lander is going to still be using, or is going to be used by NASA for the first landings, but after Artemis 3, there will be hopefully another company. And this is a good thing. You know, competition is always good. It will hopefully make the contracts get cheaper and also the quality better, as SpaceX will want to improve their product to compete with the other company. So, exciting news. And, you know, SpaceX, you know, is probably going to design a great lander still, but it's exciting that another company will hopefully get in the mix soon. Also related to the moon missions, here's a fun test mission that just happened. A company called Astrolab just tested its flexible moon buggy concept in the California desert. So this company, Astrolab, just showed off a multi-purpose lunar vehicle designed to deliver cargo, perform scientific investigations, and carry 2 astronauts. So they have a full-scale, fully functional prototype. This is called the Flex moon buggy, and it was just tested out in Death Valley in California. And it's designed to carry a bunch of different payloads, both big and small, and to traverse a challenging terrain. And actually, a famous astronaut named Chris Hadfield has been participating in these tests and even drove it around for a little bit. He's on the board for this company, so there's a little bit of official astronaut buy-in, which is exciting. And Chris Hadfield said it was not only a joy to drive this rover, but to also see its size, capability, and get an intuitive sense of what this rover can do. So this is a California-based startup, and NASA is currently accepting proposals for its moon buggy. So this won't necessarily be the one that's going to go to the moon or drive on the moon, but this is one working prototype amongst many other companies that NASA is going to be looking at proposals from. This lunar rover will be needed for the Artemis 5 mission, which is scheduled for 2027. So all these companies better get to work in designing these rovers. Here, maybe there's a little video we can watch and hopefully not get... Oh, there's Chris Hadfield. Look, there he is driving. And there he is talking about it. Cool stuff. All right, checking over the comments section, Rachel has a question. And Rachel says, I know that the brightest object we know about is a nebula, but is that the brightest a thing is capable of being? Does physics have an answer for an upper limit of brightness, or could there be brighter objects we just haven't found yet? So the brightest object we know, that's a good question. Nebulas, you know, some people might say a nebula is an object, although really it's a big cloud of gas and dust. So, you know, how do you really classify what is a single object? That's a good question. And, you know, there are stars out there that are very big and much brighter than the sun, but if they're too far away, then their apparent brightness, or how bright they look, will not be as bright from here on Earth. But their intrinsic brightness, how bright they are, just if you're like standing right next to them, there are some really bright things out there. There are also bright things that only last milliseconds, like supernovas, for example, are brighter than any star or nebula or anything we've ever seen, but they are very short, at least the initial explosion in brightness. So, you know, the definition of brightness is kind of a fuzzy thing that, depending on who you ask, it might be a different thing. But as far as if there's an upper limit of brightness, I'm not sure if there is. I don't think there's an upper limit of heat. I think there's a lower limit of heat, absolute zero. But as far as how hot can things get, I don't think physics knows if there's an upper limit. So assuming something can continue to get hotter, I assume it also can continue to get brighter. So, Rachel, maybe there is no upper limit. Who knows? All right, let's check in on the next news story. Now, this starts out a little scary, but don't worry, it's not that scary. So there was an asteroid that measuring about 10 feet wide that was discovered only hours before it actually came into the Earth's atmosphere. This is the 5th asteroid ever discovered before its impact. Now, a 10-foot wide asteroid is going to burn up in the atmosphere, so it's definitely not going to be dangerous, but pretty interesting that This is only the 5th asteroid we've actually discovered before it came to the Earth. So there is a Hungarian astronomer who gets credit for discovering it with his 24-inch telescope. He made a total of 4 observations, which he sent to the Minor Planet Center. They initially looked at his measurements and found that, or they estimated that there was only a 1% probability that the asteroid was going to actually make contact with the Earth. But after this astronomer took some more measurements, the percentage went from 1% to 100%. A bit nerve-wracking there. But luckily, this asteroid was deemed not a threat, and it was very, very small. And like I said, it disintegrated before it reached the surface. And objects that small don't really tend to survive. Roughly 10 asteroids of this size reach our planet every year. Now, we did a live stream all about asteroids and other surprises from space. So if you're nervous about asteroids and if they could be harmful to us, I'd encourage you to check out that live stream. We can post a link to that in the comments. It's still interesting that you'd think that we are tracking a lot of asteroids in space, but this is only the 5th one we've ever detected before it came to the Earth, and it was only a mere 2 hours before it impacted with the atmosphere. All right, and our next news story is an exciting James Webb Space Telescope update, and you've probably seen this already, but the telescope mirror is now officially aligned. So the optics are working completely successfully, and NASA says that the Webb telescope will perform at least up to expectations, if not much better. Now, this calibration image was taken of a star, and it's not a very exciting star. It's not one you could see with the naked eye or even with a ground-based telescope. It also doesn't have a very exciting name. It's called 2-mass J175544042 plus 6551277. Not very exciting, but that's the star there. These bright lines are distortions from the optics, which don't worry, that's not going to block our view of anything else because the Webb Space Telescope is not really going to be taking pictures like this of stars. But you can see how sharp this this mirror alignment is by looking at all of these galaxies that are behind it. So every other dot you see here, besides the one in the center, is a galaxy containing billions of their own stars, just like we saw before. Now, to put into perspective just how sharp this is, I have a little comparison video that somebody put together, and this shows the previous imagery. So that is the picture of the star we used to have with telescope data from the Spitzer Observatory, but compared to our new imagery, I'd say it's a lot better. So there's the old, there's the new. So that is how sharp of a look into the cosmos the James Webb Space Telescope can see, and that is pretty incredible. I, for one, cannot wait to see what this telescope has to see. Now, there are more alignments that do need to take place, but it's alignments in Webb's other instruments. So there are a bunch of different optical instruments that the Webb telescope is going to be using, and this was just the one instrument that was aligned to the mirrors. Now the mirrors are aligned, so they have to align the instruments. So still a little bit of work left to do, but pretty exciting that Webb is working better than expected. Yeah, we'll hopefully have even more science over the next weeks and months as the other instruments get aligned, and I think probably next month I'll have even more exciting updates about the Webb Space Telescope. We've got Eric chiming in saying howdy from Denver. Eric asks, would a similar sized meteor make it to the Earth's surface, impacting? Nope, Eric, don't worry about that. A 10-foot wide meteor is definitely not going to make it to the Earth. In fact, you'd need a much, much larger meteorite to really make it through the Earth's atmosphere. It's very rare that a meteorite that big actually makes it even close enough to the Earth to come through the atmosphere. But like I said, if you wanted to learn more about impacts from asteroids and the danger that they present, then check out our Space Surprises live stream that we did a few years ago. All right, let's look into outside of the Earth, rather, and into our solar system and check in on some solar system news updates. And here's a bit of a sad update, but the Mars rover that was a joint mission between the European Space Agency and Roscosmos, the Russian space agency, is being put into storage. So in mid-March, the European Space Agency met in Paris, and they unanimously mandated that the ESA take steps to suspend cooperation with the Russian Space Agency and authorize a study of how to get their rover ExoMars off the ground without Russia's involvement. So here's the press release from the European Space Agency with some photos of the rover. This rover, named the Rosalind Franklin rover, was slated to launch to the Red Planet in September. And one half of this ExoMars program is managed by the European Space Agency, and the other half is managed by the Russian Space Agency, or was at least. And this is a two-part mission. The first part was actually an orbiter that was sent to Mars in 2016. And this rover, like Perseverance, is going to be conducting astrobiological missions on Mars. Roscosmos was going to be providing the Proton rocket to launch the spacecraft, as well as the mission's landing platform. The landing platform is sort of a home base for the rover and its science experiments. Due to the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, this rover is going to be changing its direction a little bit. So the European Space Agency is figuring out a backup plan, Plan B, to fast track whether or not we could launch this rover using a different launch platform. Now, unfortunately, because launch windows to Mars depend on Earth's proximity to the Red Planet, it will at least be a couple of years before this mission gets off the ground, so it definitely won't launch in September, and it will be stored Ark of the Covenant style in some mysterious warehouse in Italy for the time being. All right, so let's check in with the search for Planet 9. We did have somebody comment about Pluto earlier. Well, Pluto is not the 9th planet, but astronomers do think that there probably is a 9th planet out there somewhere. Since 2016, astronomers have been actively searching for this so-called Planet 9. They pointed out evidence of its existence by looking at movements of objects that are in the Kuiper Belt, which is outside of the orbit of Pluto. There are many objects out in the Kuiper Belt that are moving in ways that suggest that there's some other massive object farther out that's kind of pulling on them. Now, there's precedent for this type of discovery because this is actually how we discovered Neptune. The same type of evidence led to our search for the 8th planet, and that's how we found Neptune. And so, based on the data, astronomers think that this 9th planet is between 5 to 10 times the size of the Earth, and it's probably located about 200 to 800 astronomical units away from the Sun. One astronomical unit is the distance between the Earth and the Sun, and to put it into perspective, Pluto is about 40 astronomical units away from the Sun. It would be 4 times the distance of Pluto, so it's no wonder that it's really hard to see and find. So this paper, published recently, actually back in December, but recently published officially, or publicly rather, details their search for this 9th planet. And this study is unique in that they were looking at microwave radiation. So they looked at about 3,500 candidate microwave signals out in the Kuiper Belt that were in orbital locations that seemed to mathematically match where this 9th planet could be. And unfortunately, they checked all 3,500 of them, and none of them were Planet 9. But astronomers calculate that they've only eliminated about 17% of the total possible orbits that this planet could be moving in, so there's still plenty of searching left to do. They've only looked at a portion of the night sky as well. So hopefully we'll find that 9th planet out there somewhere. But in the meantime, we are going to continue with tonight's news stories. And we only have a couple more news stories about astronomy and physics, some deeper space discoveries and things. So we are going to be wrapping up our live stream pretty soon. So if you are watching and have any last second comments or questions, be sure to put those in the comments section in the next few minutes, because we are going to be wrapping up soon. For space discoveries, astronomers have spotted the oldest known star. So the star that the astronomers have announced they found is nearly 13 billion years old. It's named Arendelle, and that means morning star in Old English. And this beats the record by about 3 billion years, actually. So the oldest known star was quite a bit older, or quite a bit younger, rather, and this star is quite a bit older. So this star was around when the universe was only about 7% of its current age. So it's very old. It's about 13 billion light years old. And it's pretty cool how astronomers discovered it. They used gravitational lensing. Gravitational lensing is a technique that astronomers sometimes use to discover exoplanets as well as distant stars. Basically, it uses the gravity of massive objects, such as this galaxy cluster in this image here. And the gravity of these massive objects is able to bend starlight and sometimes warp it around to allow us to see these very distant objects that we normally wouldn't be able to see, or that would be very dim. So in this case, this star is so dim that we wouldn't be able to see it unless its light was slingshot around this galaxy cluster named WHL0137-08. So in these images, you can see the shape of this gravitational lensing. They discovered this star. So let's go back. There it is. Okay. So the star is right there inside this red streak, and that red streak is the lensing from that star. It's pretty cool. Now, this star is actually one of the targets that the James Webb Space Telescope is going to be looking at. And hopefully Webb will be able to scrutinize Arendelle to learn more about the star's brightness and temperature and composition. But pretty incredible that even without Webb fully operational, we are already looking way back in time to the dawn of our universe. All right, some people in the comment section. We've got Eric asking, how is the size of our universe defined? It extends that far beyond Pluto. Well, our universe certainly extends far beyond Pluto. And as far as the universe, how we define its size, basically, we think the universe is as big as far back in time as we can look. So when we look far enough out, the light that has been traveling towards us since the beginning of the universe can only travel so far. So the universe may be infinite, we don't know. But if it is infinite, we can't see that light yet because the light hasn't reached us yet, or we may never be able to see it because it's accelerating away from us. But Eric, you may have been asking about the size of our solar system related to Pluto. And there are a couple different definitions for how astronomers define the edge of our solar system, but it's usually defined by the sun's influence. So the Voyager space probes that we sent in the 70s have been exiting our solar system, and we've been seeing evidence of their exit in their in the data that they collect about the sun. So I'm trying to find. I know I've seen a chart of this before. Yeah, here, this is a pretty good one. So here is just one example. So this is the Voyager space probe and a chart showing some ions from the sun, basically. I don't know the full details of it, but you can basically see how there's pretty consistent amount of radiation coming from the sun, and then there's a really steep drop off. So that's kind of roughly how we define the edge of the solar system. Cosmic rays from the sun, or cosmic rays from beyond the sun. So the sun is sort of insulating a region of our solar system, and when you get far enough out, you start to detect those cosmic rays. Here's another annotated show. No, I'm not. There we go. So this chart kind of shows that a little bit. The cosmic rays increasing and radiation from the sun decreasing. So that's kind of one way we define the edge of our solar system. But that's a good question. Let's see. Ah, yes, Eric. Got that. Amber's watching from the Denver airport. Thanks, Amber, for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed tonight's stream. Taylor says, hello, my friend. Great to see you again. Thanks for watching, Taylor. Great to see you again as well. Amber asks, how do we know the age of a star? That's a good question, Amber. And we can estimate the age of a star by comparing a star's brightness to its color, or the wavelengths of light that it's emitting, and then we can chart out those factors on sort of a known scale of stellar lifetime. It's a chart called the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram. So basically, we use a reference chart to kind of match the star based on its brightness and color to kind of estimate, what type of star it is, and based on that, we can assume how old the star is. Good question. Misty says, how do they tell how young or old the star is? Misty asked the same question. Hopefully I answered that for you. And Misty says, I just joined. I had to skip a bit, but I try to watch as much as possible. No, don't worry, Misty. We'll be uploading this live stream to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/KCPlanetarium. So tune in there, and you can watch recordings of our past 80 other live streams. Some of those cover topics you may be interested in, like Harry Potter astronomy. So check that out. On says, I forgot what the name of the app is called. We were using Stellarium, and we were also using Space Engine. And Taylor says, not really space related, but if you saw that lightning video about a week ago that went viral and was shared all over the world, I was the one that filmed that. Oh, I did not see that lightning video, but you can post that in the comments. It sounds very cool. All right, our last story of the day. So final questions and comments are to be submitted now. And this is kind of a bit of an exciting thing. Now, this isn't official yet, but a group of international scientists have formulated an updated message that they have proposed that we send to space and to aliens specifically. It's jam-packed with many details, including the chemical makeup of humans, a map of the Earth, and even our precise location in the Milky Way galaxy. They call it the Beacon in the Galaxy message, and it would be an update to the Arecibo message that we sent to space in 1974. So it's been nearly 50 years since the popular scientist Carl Sagan and the search for extraterrestrial intelligence pioneer Frank Drake crafted their famous message to extraterrestrials. So an update seems like it could be in order. Now, the Arecibo message, which I'll pull up an image of, was pretty rudimentary. It looked a little bit like this. So that was the Arecibo message. It had information like numbers and chemicals and pictures, like there's a picture of a human, but it was very simple, and we sent it to a very tiny part of the sky. But these scientists are proposing a new message. So this paper details the direction that they should send this message and the message itself. So there are a number of different slides in this message, but it starts out similar to the Arecibo message. So it starts out by detailing some numbers and a binary number system detailed in these sort of dots and dashes. And the thinking is that if an intelligent species somewhere out in space sees math, that they, presuming they know math too, would recognize that this message is coming from an intelligent species somewhere else, and they will try to decode it. And assuming math and physics works the same everywhere in the universe, which scientists are pretty sure it does, then this would be a way to communicate that we're intelligent. So it has some prime numbers as well as the largest known prime number. That's fun. It has some mathematical operations. So this is the message on the left, and here's sort of the translation. It has exponents. It has some simple algebra, and it even goes into particle physics. And it gets some chart, not just sort of characters here, but there are some drawings and charts. There's the structure of our DNA. And then there is a picture, a slightly more detailed picture of a human man and woman, and a little picture of a double helix structure, as well as an illustration of our solar system to help locate us, and then a map of the Earth and the composition of the Earth, communication with Earth, so detailing the frequency that they plan on communicating with, and then an actual message that is meant to be sort of an invitation for aliens to communicate back with us. In their paper, the international team of astronomers also explained the optimal way of transmitting this message. They proposed to use the 500-meter aperture spherical radio telescope, or FAST, in China, and the SETI Institute's Allen Telescope Array in California. This paper was just published, and so there will be scientists and members of the scientific community that will look at this paper and decide if this is a message that they would like to transmit. And let me know if you think we should talk about, or if we should try to contact aliens. I will say, having just finished reading the Dark Forest, which is part of the Three-Body Problem series of books, I'm not sure it's a great idea to communicate with extraterrestrials. There's a quote about the Dark Forest, which I've just if you feel like looking that up, you can. But essentially, that book makes it seem a little scary to try to communicate with aliens. But these scientists are definitely a lot more optimistic and think that it's a good idea. So hopefully they're right, and hopefully if an alien receives this message, they will decide to be peaceful. All right. So we are just about wrapped up with our stream today. And Taylor, I'm checking out this video that is a pretty incredible video. Very cool. That's pretty amazing. Oh, in Wichita, Kansas. Wow. That is crazy. Nature is amazing and scary. And that's why my interest in science starts at the Earth's atmosphere and just continues upward. So I prefer to stay away from the Earth personally. But Taylor, that's a very cool video. That's awesome. All right, so I'm not seeing any other comments, so we are going to wrap this live stream up. Thank you all so much for watching tonight's stream. Hope you enjoyed it. We will see you next month. We're going to continue these monthly streams on Mondays, so Monday, May 2nd is our planned next stream, where we will be looking at more of our spring night sky and talking more about some space and astronomy news. So don't forget, Planetarium is open. We will be publishing our evening laser shows, which are slated for Saturday, May 7th. So check those out. This next month's theme is Y2K, so that's going to be a lot of fun. In the meantime, though, we're going to start wrapping up. Thank you so much to our supporting sponsor, MRI Global, for keeping these live streams going and supporting many of the programs at Union Station and Science City. Rachel in the comments says, I always love the book recommendations. Rachel, absolutely. I'd highly recommend The Three-Body Problem and its 2 sequels. I think they're really good, and although they scarily deal with the threat of aliens, I think they're also a very positive look at what it could mean to cooperate as an entire species to accomplish a goal, because I think humanity has it in it if it is inspired to work together. Taylor says, great to see you again, my friend. Thanks, Taylor, for watching. Hope you enjoyed tonight's stream. We'll see you next time. Misty says, see you again. Thanks, Misty, for watching. And thank you all so much for tuning in. I have been your planetarium manager, Patrick Hess, and you can come visit me at the planetarium at Union Station. We're open Tuesday through Sunday right now, and you can watch all of our past live streams at youtube.com/KCPlanetarium. Be sure to like and subscribe us there. And if you're watching on Union Station's Facebook page, head over to the Arvin Gottlieb Planetarium's Facebook page. Like and subscribe to us there as well, so you don't miss any future space updates. For now, though, we are going to wrap up tonight's stream. Hope you all have a wonderful April. Stay dry out there and have an awesome rest of your week, y'all. Bye-bye.